we are. It's September 2nd today, and I'm standing in my hand-drilled soybean plot right behind the house here. As you can tell, these beans are right at my waist and are filling up with pods like crazy. I mean, these beans look amazing. Well, here we are. This is a random plant that I just pulled out a couple steps in. Let's count them. Alright, so there's 29 fully developed pods that are definitely going to produce beans. Some of them even have 4 beans in each pod. But then, well, those pods are about 50% filled in. And then, if you count some of these smaller ones that are just forming, I'd say there's, I didn't count these ones, but there's at least a dozen or so small ones that are just starting to grow. So about 30 fully grown pods that are going to produce, and possibly a dozen more. So if this thing gets enough nutrients and can grow long enough, it should get about 40 pods in this one plant, but 30 for sure. And as you can tell, right about waist high. Man, going into when I planted this and was hand drilling these rows back and forth, I never thought I would produce something like this. That's just unbelievable. There's like 30 pods on this sucker, and it's just going to be an ultimate winter food source for these deer. It's only about a half acre to possibly, if you're stretching it, about 0.6, 0.7 of an acre, but really small area. The reason why we can grow small plots like this here in southern Wisconsin is because there's so much ag around. This little plot like this never really got overbrowsed too badly. Plus it helps, there's about 10 acres of beans across the road. But for some reason, when these things were smaller, I was seeing just as many deer in this little plot as I did the one across the road, probably because of the security and the trees and how it's screened off from the road. And plus the size of it helps. That field's wide open to the road, so that's probably why they're in here quite a bit too. But yeah, really grew nicely. So like I said, I'm right here at the house, and that's kind of where I walked in, where they're about waist high. And you come into this one little area right here where I see a lot more deer browse. And they're a little bit past my knees right here, but just go over that way a little bit and they're waist high. So these deer, they feed only where it's like the shorter beans are, because they don't want to like walk through. Well, technically they can't even, eat on that stuff because those beans are like above their heads, where it's waist high or higher. But kind of walking through these rows here, trying not to crush them down. Anyways, man, even right here where there's lots of browse, as you can tell, beans are looking really good, just loaded. Alright, so I'm standing out in this bean field right here. As you can tell, it's still making new pods. I don't know if it's going to have time to completely fill out some of these brand new ones, but if they do, that'd be great. But way down here at the bottom, you can see it's just loaded with pods. This one's even got 4 beans in that one. But anyways, you get down here too like this, and I can just feel that it's cooler on the ground here. There's my row right there, kinda. This one I think just grew up in the middle of the row. I broadcasted a few, but not a lot. And the other row is like right here. But you get down in here, you can see all these old dead leaves and branches that are falling off. But I can feel that the soil and the air down here is really cool, holding moisture. We haven't had rain forever. And this moisture, we got a lot of clay in our ground, so this soil down here is still really moist. And you can see right there's a weed. After I sprayed, the weeds never even had a chance to kind of grow back in. But this is all real moist, wet soil. You can even see a deer track right there. That's probably why this one's crushed down. Anyways, and you get up here, oh man, it's a totally different story. It just looks like a sea of beans right here. Can't believe that they're still, flowering out and producing new pods, even though they have tons of them on them already. Standing in a little bit different section of the plot. I was just down that way. I'm a little closer to the road now, just to show you that most of this plot is about waist high with no fertilizer. Last spring, not this spring, we came in here and broadcasted. Actually, we used our drop spreader. We put in a ton of lime, and we got the pH close to 7. I'll show you the soil sample that we took this spring. Our magnesium and phosphorus levels were really good, as well as our pH was right around a 7. So that's why we really didn't want to, waste any time or money to throw any fertilizer on here. It probably would have helped a little bit, but it wouldn't have helped a ton. As you can tell, they grew fine without any fertilizer. But that's why getting your pH is probably more important than fertilizing. If your pH ain't right, the fertilizer ain't gonna do much of anything. It turned out really nice. I couldn't have asked for any better results. It grew beyond my expectations. I'll show you the rest of this plot and some other areas, kind of back along the woods now. And usually this side over here where I kept this grass real long this year, they like to bed down here at night, just kind of in this grass next to the food source. And I left a lot of grass on that side too of the plot, just for nighttime bedding. 'Cause I know deer and bucks, they like to bed in long grass and stuff like that at night next to food. And that'd just be, if we can get them to come over here at night and feed, that's one thing. But if we can get them to come over here at night and feed and bed down and feed and then head back, that'll just keep them here the whole night, just a higher chance of dropping a shed. So I know I'm not really gonna hunt this plot, but I mainly planted this to have a possibility of finding a shed and just seeing all the deer tracks and benefiting the deer throughout the whole winter here. So right here in this corner, it's really, really shady. That's why these beans are only barely knee high, but they still did produce, but not really much of anything. It won't take that long to clean up these few pods that are on these plants right here. I mean, look at this. But overall, the whole plot looks pretty good besides this little corner here.